Let's get rolling. Now, as we end this Disability Awareness Month, our first speaker wants to share her experiences with ableism, to reframe the word disability, so that disabilities are considered challenges, not limitations. With her speech titled, "I'm Through Expecting Limits," please welcome Toastmasters, Kathleen.
Good morning, Toastmasters.
Good morning, Kathleen.
About 13 years ago, I was living in South Florida. I was working for my dad as his assistant. I was also looking for a job in my chosen field, which is media. I ended up getting a job with the publisher of the local community magazine in Coral Springs, which, disclaimer, has nothing to do with the company I work for now. I met this publisher at a local Coral Springs Chamber event. She called me a couple months later and told me her assistant needed an assistant. And she asked if I wanted to interview. I said, absolutely. I met with the publisher and her assistant. I explained to them about my Turner syndrome and the challenges that come with that, especially when it comes to nonverbal communication. The assistant said she understood, and they both agreed to try me out for a couple of months. What I didn't realize was the publisher didn't really understand. At first she started having me do tasks like data entry and filing, which I was able to do. But then she started adding tasks to the job description that I had never done before. Tasks like appointment setting, lead generation, sending professional emails. Again, I'd never done any of that before. And it was a challenge for me to learn. But instead of helping me, the assistant berated me and only told me what I was doing wrong and about my less than copacetic performance. She got on me about being too shy on the phone and about my not so neat handwriting when taking phone messages. She told me the only thing I was good at was data entry. And then she said the worst possible thing you can say to someone with a disability or a medical, physical, or developmental challenge. That assistant told me I was limited to what I could do. Now, as human beings, we all have limitations. I say that's the worst possible thing she could have said, because saying someone is limited to what they can do because of a medical handicap is diminishing, othering, and makes people who have these conditions feel less than. And that assistant is not the first person to make those kinds of comments. My parents were told things very similar to what Carson was told about his son. She's not going to be able to live on her own. You need to label her as a medically fragile child. She won't be able to get a real job. You need to have her on disability. Luckily enough, my parents didn't fall for that. And like Carson did with his son, we worked hard to maximize my potential. I did occupational therapy, physical therapy. I worked hard with my teachers, especially in math class, to understand the concepts so I could succeed academically. I worked hard to get to where I am and to show that I am more than my Turner syndrome. And that's what anybody with a disability wants. To prove that they're more than their disability and to be treated just like anybody else. And I use the term disability because that is what is legally used in the Americans with Disabilities Act. But I think we have to reframe that word. A disability is just a challenge that certain people have to work to overcome, just like anybody else with a challenge. And they might need help in certain areas, but that doesn't mean they're incapable. Disabilities should be considered challenges and not limitations. When people make these ableist comments, they do it because they hear the word syndrome or they hear the word disability, and they make judgments based on that. And that made me think of Jeff Rufinock's speech from a couple of weeks ago. You can judge or you can connect, but you can't do both. When you judge people with disabilities, instead of connecting with them, you are missing out on some amazing people that bring so much to the table. And it starts with learning more about them and about their disabilities, what they go through on a daily basis, and just treating them like human beings. Everybody that knows me in this club knows I'm a huge fan of Wicked. When someone tells me I'm limited to what I can do, I think of the line from Defying Gravity. I'm through accepting limits because someone says they're so. Guess what? Those things that assistant told me I couldn't do, the appointment setting, the lead generation, that is what I'm doing professionally now. I am already breaking those limitations, and I will continue to defy those expectations. Fellow Toastmasters, I challenge this to you. Don't put limitations on people with disabilities. Embrace them, learn from them, because they're challenges, not limitations. Mr. Toastmaster.
Great job.